Why do companies such as PayPal, Google, and Apple opt for the more simple versions of logos after like 10 or 20 years? And why is this the trend that we're seeing today? Let's get into it to get more understanding. So what we have here is the new branding and identity for PayPal, launched by Pentagram. And for those that don't know, Pentagram is a well-known design agency. And it's like,
black people.
So as we see here, the PayPal logo used to have a bit more to it, but they've opted for a much more simple font and color scheme. And you can see the evolution here. So it started off here, 1999, and all the way to 2024. The one that we're used to is the 2014 to the 2022 one. So it's actually in the last 2 years that they've actually updated the logo, which is quite interesting. But as you can see here, I'm not going to read the paragraphs on the left. It's a bit long, but you can see the colors are brighter. It's got some really cool applications of the brand, which I do really like. The logo itself, it's fine. I mean, it's expected when the brand is evolving, but it's got some really cool applications. The blues are a lot more brighter, a lot more punchy, but then you can have like some animated elements here, which are really cool, showing like different ways PayPal can be used, and it's used for basically everything. They still have the icon here, but it looks like they've taken off the round edges and opted for something that's a lot more sharp corners to make it more serious, I guess, and more streamlined over here. The system encompasses a new bespoke brand typeface, PayPal Pro, a streamlined color palette, and emotion language based on everyday payment behaviors like tapping, flipping, and swiping. So they would have gone through a lot of variations for this. We take it for granted, something that looks so simple, right? But they would have put a lot of work into this. And I'm going to show you why. And I'm going to show you the evolution of this. And I personally like it. I'm a less is more kind of guy. So when a brand takes off all the things that are distractions, I'm totally here for it. But there's a reason, and there's a trend. There's a kind of like pattern to logo evolution that I'm going to run through here. So you can you just do a Google search on Pentagram or whatever, put PayPal rebrand, and you can see a bunch of all this kind of stuff. It's really, really cool. I do really like it. Some of you might think it's boring. For me as a designer, I think it's great. So let's go into the next bit. So what we have here is the logo evolution of Apple. And what you can see is that at the start, it's an illustration. This was in 1976. And then they opted to have the apple, but it still had lots of colors, right? That was like a 70s look and feel. Then it just goes down to the black version, then the metallic version, a different version of the metallic version. And then now what we basically have today, which is the one color version. Now, the next one we got is the BBC logo. Now, the BBC logo is, it hasn't changed much, right? But there's very subtle changes. So over here, you can see that the B and the letters are in most of the box. Then in 1963, they tidied it up and gave it more spacing. 1971, they tried rounded corners. 1988, when I was born, they tried some different colors. Now in 1997, they went for the more simple, straight version. So now they removed the italics, changed the font a bit. And then in 2001, made even more spacing in the boxes. So as you can see, as time progresses, there's actually more and more spacing in the boxes. Very subtle changes. And BBC was already a simple logo in the first place, but it's become even more simplified. And then we got Google. Google started off looking like word art. It looked horrible. 1998, and you can see how it's become progressively more simple as time goes on. And then in 2015, they made this version, which is the flat colors, which we're seeing today. And, we have the icon of it that we're used to as well. And finally, we have McDonald's. Decided to show another industry here. It started off like that with just the text. Then it went to red letters. Then not even that. It went down to, it was still black and white. Had an illustration of a scary man right there. Then it came onto the letters, introducing the M as the arch. Still looked a bit interesting there. Then it became in 1968 what we're more familiar with, which is the McDonald's in the middle of the yellow M, the gold arches. And then in 1983, the red behind it. 1993 introduced the shadow behind it. It's probably I hate it. 2003, you can see now McDonald's is not even in the logo because it's more recognized. And then now It's a lot more clean. It's just the M. Again, more simple. Now, there's 3 stages of a brand evolution, according to my observation. This isn't by no means a prescriptive thing, but you have the seed stage, the growth stage, and the legacy stage. And in each stage, there are different things happening for the brand, meaning that the brand has to evolve in a certain way. So to go into more detail, in the seed phase, it's the beginning of the business. They haven't started getting customers necessarily. And these are the ones that are like maybe a cafe, or it doesn't matter what kind of business, but let's say you know someone that is starting a business and they don't have a logo, they don't have the colors, they don't have nothing. And they're just like, yeah, I just need the logo. And they'll probably go on Fiverr or get a cheap logo done to get it, to get it out the door. No big investments here. You're not expecting any big investments here for the most part. There's people that are just starting things out and they're like, okay, I'm going to invest thousands of pounds into my brand identity. Those people are a lot more serious. But for people that are just starting out, they're at the seed phase. Then what I would say is that they go on to the growth phase. The growth phase is when they gain a consistent client base and they're ready to make investments into their business. And these investments, they're like, it's because they reach a certain stage and they're like, yo, I'm more confident in my business. I'm getting consistent clients. I have the money to invest in things. My good business is growing and I want people to take me more seriously. And I want to stand out from my competitors. The seed stage people aren't necessarily thinking about this because they're generally just trying to get a logo out the door. So I tend not to work with people in the seed stage. I tend to work with people that are actually in the growth stage. Now, in the growth stage, they're ready to make an investment to make their brand differentiate from other businesses that maybe do the same thing. And that's when people will approach someone like me and say, I need a rebrand because my business has grown, but I'm embarrassed about my logo because my little cousin did it. Something along those lines. And then you have the legacy phase. The legacy phase is, let's say, they've gone through the growth phase, right? And they've been operating for like 5 to 10 years, maybe 10 years, something like that. And they're like, you know what? We've been here for a long time and our branding does not reflect where the company is going in the future. Like, let's say the CEO has stepped down and they've handed it over to someone else. This is what you're thinking about. So it's a business that is a household name in the industry and they want to establish their presence for the future. That's the legacy stage. And that's when the business has been operating for a long time. They're not worried about getting clients. They're not worried about anything. What they're worried about is their legacy and the impression that they're leaving in their household for people to remember them, that in 10 years, will they still be thinking about the same logo? If someone says, what's the logo of the McDonald's? You think the Golden Arches. That's the legacy. And if I go back up to the McDonald's one, you can see it's becoming much more simple because the beginning, this was the seed stage in 1940, and everything in between 1940 and 2003 is the growth stage, I would say. I would probably say that the legacy stage maybe started at in 1968 maybe, but then it's just continue to evolve. I'm not saying that in the legacy stage the logo doesn't evolve. It does. But it gets to a point where it's just like, this is our logo. There's not going to be much more change to it. It's just going to become more simplified because less is more. So it's not about, at this stage, in the legacy stage, it's not about whether the customers like it or not. It's not. It's about the legacy that you're trying to leave behind and the memory that you want to leave behind with your customers. It's not about whether they like it or not. It really isn't, because people are going to compare. When you get to the legacy stage and you change your logo, everybody's going to complain anyway. So why not just do whatever is right for you? So that's what the legacy stage is about. And that's what often happens maybe in you've been operating for like 10 years or something like that. And then this explains the logo evolution of PayPal. Now you can see the seed stage, they had this logo, a lot going on. And you can see that with the pattern of these businesses that have just started is that they have a lot going on in their branding when they first start because they think more is more, but less is actually more. And you can see that the PayPal logo is getting a lot more simplified as time goes on. And now we have the black PayPal logo. No longer italics, straight to the point, no rounded corners. And there we have it. So I hope that explains why logos tend to be looking more quote unquote boring when they do rebrands. It's because less is more. And they're worried, their goal is not to create a logo that customers like. Their goal is to create a logo and branding that reflects where they see themselves in the future. And if the business isn't really reflecting that, then they have to change things up. Otherwise, they're going to be left behind and going to look outdated. And the best way to create an iconic branding is to have the most simple version. And that's really it. Because the less that's going on, the more likely someone is going to remember. Remember, the golden arches on the M is one thing to remember. You don't need to remember the color of the McDonald's. You don't need to remember the color of the background, just the golden M. And that is the legacy. So what do you guys think? Am I right or wrong? And how do you feel about the PayPal branding? I personally quite like it. I quite like the application of it. I like the updated images. I'd like to see this rolled out on the app. I'd like to see this rolled out on the website and everything. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And hopefully in the next video, I'll probably have a design version, design speed run, but we'll see. But have a great day. Take care of yourselves and see you on the next video. Peace out.